Hello, this is Dale West. I thought we should talk about probably one of the most important subjects, the rule book and how to use it. It is now bigger than ever, and probably the most common discussion out there is how hard it is to understand because there's so much information in it, and the fact that it's written in a language that we don't use out in the field. It has always been that most people see this fat little book and consider it too much information to take in. They find it hard to navigate and hard to interpret. They hear all the horror stories about how hard it is to read, and every time they open it, it simply confirms their fears. The rule book really should be the first textbook you own. It should be given the time to understand it. I thought I'd share with you my own little idea about how to get around the rule book. It is not the only way, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't written in the way that I'm going to explain here, and it may not even be the best way. But after seeing maybe 300 people or so over the past few years find it easier to work through the rulebook after I show them this idea, I'm pretty sure it'll help you too. Let me say, the idea of ignoring the book because it's big and it's written in a language that we don't use out in the field is the wrong way to think about it. The harder it is to get to know, the more you need to pick it up and try to get to know it. There's no point putting it down, leaving it, and not touching it. It's far too important. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, consider the idea that the rule book tells us how to safely wire up buildings, basically. And the book is written with the most common points at the front of the book, and it works its way through to the least most common. You also find that in each chapter as well. For example, with appliances, you find the most common appliance at the top of the chapter. That is, power points and light switches are the most common appliance you find, and so they're at the top of the chapter. Whereas capacitors are not so common, and so you find them at the back of the chapter. Now, air conditioners, they're at the back of the chapter. But when the book was written, there was hardly an air conditioner in each house, whereas now, of course, we've got an air conditioner in every room of each house. So I think you get the idea. The most common is at the start, and it works its way to the least most common. Alright, so what is the most simple construction that an electrician might wire up? A shed. A shed has circuit breakers, lights and power points. So, when planning to wire up a shed, where's the first place you start looking? The rule book. Until you've done the job a couple of times and you know your way around, you need to check the standards. And the standards are in Chapter 1. Bury yourself in Chapter 1. If you believe all the talk that the rule book is written in a different language and hard to understand, read Chapter 1. Read the definitions and fundamental principles. That's the only way you'll start to get a handle on interpreting the rule book. You're not going to know what to look for in the rule book if you don't know the definitions. Read the definitions. Okay, so the next thing you do is actually wiring up your shed. Where do you start? Where do you start wiring your shed from? The switchboard. Everything you need to know about the switchboard starts in Chapter 2. Everything about the board. Where you put it, how high, what clearances, all the information for your protection devices you'll find in Chapter 2. The circuit breakers, RCDs, is all found in Chapter 2. There is no point wasting your time flicking through to all the other chapters. You'll find it in a few pages of Chapter 2. Okay, so after planing the switchboard, what do you do next? Rough it in. You run the cables, and that's in Chapter 3. Chapter 3 has everything you need to know about cables and cable system. Everything from current capacity to conduit, from voltage drop to cable tray. Once again, there's no point in wasting your time flicking through to all the other chapters. No point being in Chapter 1 or 2 or any other chapters in the book. Just look in Chapter 3. If you need to go to any other chapters to check anything out, Chapter 3 will tell you where to go. Now, after we've roughed it in, what do we do next? We fit it off, don't we? Fit off the PowerPoints, fans, stoves, etc. If you need to know anything about appliances, just go to chapter 4. Don't waste your time flicking through the whole book. You only need to look at chapter 4. Now, you get to chapter 5, the middle of the book. What is the rule book written for? What is the central reason for the rule book? Safety. And what is our primary means of safety or protection? Earthing. The centre of the rule book is earthing. So when wiring up a building, from chapter 2 to chapter 8, chapter 5 is in the middle. And the central reason for the rule book is safety. Anything to do with earthing, you'll find in chapter 5. Okay, so our shed's complete. We have a switchboard, cable, PowerPoints, lights, and it's earthed. But the book also covers homes. What does a home have that most sheds don't? A bathroom, laundry, or a pool, deemed situations. All the answers to your wet area questions can be found in chapter 6. How close can you put a PowerPoint to a laundry tub, etc. Okay, so our home is now complete. If there is anything other than a shed or a home we're asked to do, you'll find it in the next chapter, chapter 7. Chapter 7 will have all your rare or special situations. It won't tell you much, but it will tell you where you can start looking to find your answers. Okay, so the job's done, but not complete. There is one last thing you need to do before you pack up and call it a day. Of course, it's testing. All your testing requirements can be found in chapter 8. There is no point starting anywhere else. Go to chapter 8 and it will tell you if you need to go to any other chapter. And that's it. And now, always consider this. When you need to find the answer in the rule book is not a quick fix. It's not like asking an expert a question and I'll give you the answer. When you read the rule book, give yourself plenty of time and don't accept the first answer you find. Track down all the possible answers until there are no more to find. And then make a decision as to which is the best answer. And make sure you read all the information on the subject. You can think you have the answer, and all of a sudden there is an exemption that negates everything you just read. So make sure you read all the clause right down to the last note, and do not make a decision until you've tracked down all the possible answers, and then make a decision. Follow this little plan and you are well and truly on your way to start being able to understand the rule book. As I say, it's not the only way, it's not the best way, it's just my way. I hope it helps.